One of these politicians secretly owns diamond mines. Another, a multi-million-dollar stake in McDonald's South Africa. And one was so powerful, he nearly sold a piece of the country. This isn't fiction. These are South Africa's richest politicians, and the truth behind their wealth will blow your mind. Number 11, Bheki Cele, 1.5 million US dollars. He's the man in charge of South Africa's police force, often seen making fiery speeches in sharp suits and always under the spotlight when crime surges. But what flies under the radar is that Bheki Cele isn't just a government official. He's quietly one of the wealthiest figures in the cabinet. His fortune, estimated at $1.5 million, doesn't come from a luxury tech startup or old family money. It's the result of a long and layered career in politics, real estate, and possibly more. Over a decade in public office gives him a consistent ministerial salary. Sure, but whispers around Pretoria and Durban suggest he's got property portfolios in both cities and past business links to private security firms. There are even rumors he holds discrete interests in transport and logistics companies, though nothing is formally disclosed. Cele himself keeps things deliberately vague. No Instagram flexing, no media tours of lavish homes, but political insiders know. This is a man who's played the long game, and it's paid off. Still, one question lingers. Can a life in public service, without any obvious business ventures, really justify that much quiet wealth? Or is there more to the story than we're being told? Number 10, John Steenhuisen, 2 million US dollars. He's the clean-cut face of South Africa's official opposition, calm, calculated, and often portrayed as the honest alternative to the ruling elite. But beneath the image of political integrity, John Steenhuisen quietly sits on a fortune estimated at $2 million. And the origin of that wealth? It's not exactly grassroots. While Steenhuisen has no history of flashy business deals or high-profile investments, he comes from a background of generational wealth, including inherited land and properties, particularly in KwaZulu-Natal. His family reportedly benefited from land acquisition opportunities during the apartheid era, a legacy that still pays dividends today. Unlike many politicians on this list, Steenhuisen isn't chasing wealth publicly. In fact, much of his personal portfolio remains hidden from public view. He avoids scandals, rarely makes headlines for his lifestyle, and keeps his financial footprint as low as possible. Yet despite all that, he remains one of the richest white politicians in Africa, a title most people have never heard. In a party that often champions transparency and anti-corruption, Steenhuisen's quiet fortune is interesting, to say the least. So here's the question. Is this the image of clean leadership, or just a more polished version of the same old political wealth? Number 9, Julius Malema, 3 million US dollars. He calls himself a revolutionary, the voice of the people, the hammer against the rich. But ironically, Julius Malema is a multimillionaire with an empire that looks nothing like the struggle he preaches. With a net worth of $3 million, Malema lives far more like the elite he constantly criticizes. His fortune comes from a mix of political influence and sharp business moves. He's deeply invested in agriculture, owning farms and livestock, and has turned land reform into a personal gold mine. He also has his hands in various private companies, most notably through the Mazimbu Investment Trust. While he often talks about wealth redistribution, he's been quietly acquiring property and involved in housing developments that cater to South Africa's growing demand for affordable accommodation. But what makes Malema's case unique is the contradiction. A man who rallies crowds with anti-capitalist speeches, yet navigates capitalism like a seasoned investor. His luxury vehicles, tailored designer looks, and quiet business moves all point to someone playing two games, the political one in public and the money game in private. So the question isn't whether Julius Malema is rich. He is. The real question is, who's he really fighting for? Number 8, Gayton McKenzie, 4 million US dollars. From ex-con to political powerhouse, Gayton McKenzie's story sounds like a Hollywood script, but his bank account is 100% real. With an estimated net worth of 4 million US dollars, McKenzie has transformed his life from prison walls to boardrooms and government halls. He made his first splash in the business world as a motivational speaker and author, but the real money came from mining. McKenzie owns stakes in multiple mines across South Africa and Zimbabwe, leveraging insider access and political relationships, including a well-documented connection to President Ramaphosa. He's also a player in real estate, having developed residential and commercial properties in multiple provinces. Now serving as Minister of Sports, he's not your typical public servant. Gayton is bold, loud, and unapologetic about his success, whether it's flashing designer brands or speaking openly about power and money. His wealth, however, raises one important point. How does someone rise so fast, so high, after starting at rock bottom? In a country where economic mobility is rare, Mackenzie's empire is either proof of redemption or proof of the system. Number 7. Kenny Kunene, $10 million US. They call him the Sushi King. And it's not just a nickname, it's a brand. Kenny Kunene is what happens when politics, nightlife, and media collide, and somehow generate a $10 million US fortune. Before stepping into politics, Kunene was already living like a rock star. As co-founder of the ultra-luxurious Tsar nightclub in Johannesburg, he built his empire entertaining celebrities, business moguls, and politicians alike. But he didn't stop at champagne and flashing lights. Kunene has deep investments in gold mining through Central Rand Gold, where he served as both executive and shareholder. And in 2019, he launched Yuku Rides, a ride-hailing app built to compete with Uber and Bolt in the South African market. His political ties with the Patriotic Alliance and close friendship with Gayton Mackenzie give him even more leverage. He's also a media personality, reality TV figure, and branding expert who monetizes attention like few others in the country. Kunene's wealth is loud, intentional, and unapologetic. But here's the twist. Behind the flashy lifestyle and wild headlines, he's also a calculated businessman who always seems 2 steps ahead. So the real question becomes, is Kenny Kunene a distraction or a master of distraction? Number 6. Thabo Mbeki, $11 million US. He was once South Africa's president, but today, Thabo Mbeki is a quiet multi-millionaire worth an estimated $11 million US. Unlike others on this list, Mbeki doesn't flaunt wealth, but don't let the reserved demeanor fool you. His financial influence stretches across borders. After apartheid ended, Mbeki was perfectly positioned to benefit from a wave of new economic opportunities. He became an industrialist, quietly investing in metal and steel factories throughout the continent. He also holds shares in major financial institutions, including First National Bank and Direct Access, a firm that deals in loans and insurance. Mbeki's wealth isn't loud, but it's layered, smart, strategic, and quietly compounding. His properties span several African countries, and his business dealings are deeply embedded in the economic machinery of post-apartheid Africa. While some saw him as too academic, others understood. Mbeki wasn't just building policy, he was building power. So here's the thought. Is his legacy purely political? Or was he all along crafting something even more lasting? Financial dominance. Number 5. Jacob Zuma, $20 million US. He's one of the most controversial figures in South African history, and one of the richest. Jacob Zuma, the former president with a reputation wrapped in scandal, sits on an estimated $20 million US. While his time in office was marked by allegations of corruption and state capture, what's undeniable is how his personal wealth surged during his presidency. Zuma built financial ties with the infamous Gupta family, who reportedly helped him funnel state contracts into private businesses. Properties in KwaZulu-Natal, luxury homes in Dubai, and even rumored stakes in oil deals with Russia all form part of the empire he quietly constructed behind the scenes. But Zuma didn't stop there. He also owns farmland and agricultural developments, giving him control over another major sector, food. And through shell companies and proxies, his family has extended its financial reach into tourism, logistics, and energy. Despite numerous legal battles and public scrutiny, Jacob Zuma remains financially intact. Some see him as a symbol of political decay, others as a genius strategist who knew how to play the system better than anyone. So here's the uncomfortable question. Did Jacob Zuma ever really lose power? Or did he just move it behind closed doors? Number 4. Herman Mashaba, $100 million US. Before he ever stepped into politics, Herman Mashaba was already a self-made millionaire. Today, with an estimated net worth of $100 million US, he's one of South Africa's richest political figures. And he did it without relying on government contracts or shady deals. Mashaba made his fortune in the beauty industry, By founding Black Like Me, a hair care brand that exploded in the 1990s and became a household name across the country. But he didn't stop at shampoo. He diversified, investing in property, retail, and manufacturing, building a private business empire that grew quietly but powerfully. When he founded Action SA, many saw him as a political outsider. But the truth is, he entered politics from a position of power, not need. He owns multiple properties in Johannesburg and has shares in companies most voters have never even heard of. Mashaba isn't loud. He doesn't brag. But his numbers speak louder than any campaign speech. In a landscape full of inherited wealth and political connections, he's one of the few on this list who truly built his fortune from scratch. So the real question is, can a billionaire really lead a party that claims to fight for the average citizen? Number 3, Saki Makazoma, 125 million US dollars. He's not a celebrity politician. He doesn't make headlines with controversy, yet Saki Makazoma holds a fortune estimated at 125 million US dollars and more influence than most elected officials ever dream of. A former senior member of the ANC and once a close ally of Nelson Mandela, Makazoma shifted away from politics and straight into boardrooms. As the former CEO of Toyota South Africa, he helped transform the company into an industry leader, but that was just the beginning. He now sits on boards of giants like African Bank, Nedbank, and SAB Miller, and his investment portfolio includes energy, real estate, and financial services. Makazoma isn't flashy, but his strategy is crystal clear: dominate quietly, while others chase clout. He builds empires. He owns properties in exclusive enclaves, manages private equity funds, and influences policy without ever needing a podium. He's the kind of man who doesn't need to run for office because the people in office already listen to him. So ask yourself, is real power found in politics or in the money that shapes it? Number 2, Tokyo sex whale, 200 million US dollars. He helped fight apartheid. He served as a cabinet minister. And now, Tokyo sex whale is worth an estimated 200 million US dollars. And most South Africans have no idea just how deep his fortune runs. After stepping out of politics, Tokyo made his real move into diamonds, oil, and heavy industry. He owns stakes in mining operations across Africa, including diamond-rich territories in Botswana and Namibia. He's also a major player in the oil and gas sector, with business interests stretching from southern Africa to the Middle East. But unlike many wealthy politicians, Tokyo doesn't chase fame. He prefers discretion. You won't see him flashing watches or posting from luxury yachts. His game is quiet control. He's also been linked to private equity firms and infrastructure projects that rarely make front-page news, but rake in massive profits behind the scenes. His connections across both government and business allow him to move between worlds, influencing without being exposed. So while most think of him as a freedom fighter turned politician, the reality is this: Tokyo sex whale may have left politics, but he never left power. The real question is, how many empires can one man build while the world's looking the other way? Number 1, Cyril Ramaphosa, 450 million US dollars. He's not just the president of South Africa. He's one of the wealthiest politicians the continent has ever seen. With a staggering net worth of 450 million US dollars, Cyril Ramaphosa is a businessman turned president, or maybe it's the other way around. Long before taking office, Ramaphosa built a corporate empire through his investment company, Shanduka Group, with holdings in mining, banking, telecommunications, and real estate. He acquired the McDonald's franchise rights for South Africa, invested in platinum through Lonmin, and held stakes in Coca-Cola bottling, energy projects, and even tourism ventures. What makes Ramaphosa different isn't just how much he owns, it's how diverse his empire is. From fast food to finance, he's quietly woven himself into nearly every corner of South Africa's economy. And now, as head of state, his critics argue that the line between his political decisions and business interests isn't always clear. He promised to fight corruption and restore trust in leadership. But with this kind of fortune under his belt, many are left wondering, can a billionaire president ever truly serve the people? Or is the system designed to serve him? If you thought these fortunes were shocking, wait until you see who's quietly building even bigger empires, far from politics and even further from the spotlight. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next.